The stunt that forced a legend to quit. Quit what? Like sports?
To constantly seek the feeling of being at the edge of death is not bravery, it's insanity. But you cannot simply call Travis Pastrana
Adrenaline?
a reckless adrenaline junkie with no regard for his mortality. In fact, he is arguably the most self-aware, calculated thrill seeker in history, which is likely the only reason why he is still alive.
The moment after preparation and before the conclusion is the most intense, the best, and the scariest moment that you'll ever have. And for me, that's the greatest moment. That's the moment I live for. It's when you're sitting up there and you're nervous. You decide then, am I going to follow through, or do I need more practice? And if you decide to follow through, all fear goes out. Anything else that you're thinking of completely goes away, and the only thing that you're concerned about is that moment, and that's kind of cool. It's a good feeling.
He's broken nearly every bone in his body. He's accomplished
Damn.
tricks nobody imagined were possible, jumped out of planes without parachutes, and walked away from crashes that should have ended his life and tragically have ended others. But for some reason, he kept going. Not because he didn't understand the risk, not because he has this void inside his soul that cannot be filled, but because he was on a much bigger mission. Travis wasn't just trying to land cool tricks, he was trying to push an entire culture forward, to show the world that action sports weren't just chaos for entertainment, but a real, legitimate art form. And he put his body on the line time and time again. And after he built a legendary career, there was one more stunt that was on his bucket list: the triple backflip. A stunt so dangerous, only Travis could do it, but he couldn't. And how he dealt with this failure changed his legacy forever. Travis Pastrana was never afraid to crash. Even as a young boy, he treated crashing like a part of the process. It was something to learn from, not avoid. Part of motocross is being able to take a hard fall, wind knocked out of you, thinking you're broken. My dad always said, get up. If you're broken, you'll fall back down. By the time he was in elementary school, he was already riding motorcycles, not just casually, but competitively. By the time Travis was a teenager, he started making a name for himself in amateur motocross, not only because he was good, but because he was fearless. The kid would fly through the course, crash so violently it looked like the end for him, then shake it off and go even harder. There was kind of a reckless intelligence to the way he rode, and people respected it.
I don't know military guys. I'm sure there's guys that are like next level, but like, I just, as far as action sports goes, I think he's the gnarliest guy I've ever seen or met as far as pushing the limits, risking his life over and over and over. And yeah, he's got a lot of metal in his body, dude.
And even though Travis was a promising racer,
how much metal?
More known for freestyle motocross. At just 15 years old, he was already chasing bigger jumps and longer airtime, but that came with plenty of injuries. Travis had broken 18 bones in 4 years, and that didn't even come close to scaring him away from a dirt bike.
That's cool, I don't need to go to the hospital.
Are you on break?
Definitely.
In 1999, he suffered one of the worst crashes of his life when he separated his spine from his pelvis. It was pure luck that he didn't bleed out right there on the spot. Travis spent 3 months in a wheelchair, but even then, he was popping wheelies around and eager to get back on his bike. Just
Are you
6
serious?
months after this spine injury, he entered the first ever Moto X freestyle competition at the X Games. The 15-year-old was sending dangerous tricks over huge gaps while smiling and entertaining the crowd. His run earned him his first ever
he
gold
was in a
medal,
wheelchair and he just back
into mainstream success.
Never been defeated freestyle contest, X2000. Live on to my reputation, man. I can't say enough. I'm so excited to be here, and yeah, hopefully next time Carrie and I will both be in the comp doing backflips.
And as if winning gold wasn't cool enough, he decided to jump out of the course and into the San Francisco Bay. ESPN chose not to show the footage, and he was almost stripped of his gold medal, but to the fans, he was an absolute badass. From there, Travis won the 2000 AMA 125cc National Motocross Championship, which was a major achievement in traditional motocross and proved that he wasn't just a freestyle showman, he was a legitimate racer with elite skill. Shortly after his 18th birthday, he decided to backflip his dirt bike into the Grand Canyon, jumping off midair and parachuting to the bottom. He won gold for the 3rd year in a row at X Games in 2001. He became the first rider to land a backflip during competition in 2002. In 2003, he claimed his 4th gold X Games medal and becomes the 2nd rider ever to complete a 360 in competition, and then took a gnarly crash while trying a 50-foot 360. Travis suffered a concussion from this wipeout, but he still competed the next day and won a
Bro, what the? This guy's insane, man. This guy literally has no fear to death, dude. He's laughing at death, dude. Like, if he was in Final Final Destination, he will freaking laugh at death, and he will survive anything death throws at him. He'll literally be the main character of that story.
A silver medal. Travis's bones were slowly getting replaced with metal. He broke his wrist 7 times, had 14 knee surgeries, 4 tibia fractures, separated his shoulder 3 times, and had over 25 concussions. And every time he was healing from an injury, he would take a few Advil and plot on his
what they call him, a Wolverine now too, or what?
And, definitely live a very blessed life in that way. But in my opinion, I didn't feel like it was lucky. If I was lucky, I would have made the jump like I intended to, and would have kept going. But when I woke up from that, the first thing I thought was, well, can you get this back together so I can try that jump again before they take it down? And it was just, it's part of the sports. And if it's worth it to you, there's no better life.
If it wasn't obvious by now, injuries were not going to slow down Travis Pastrana.
Yeah,
and
he does
he
not
won
care.
his 5th gold medal in
That's
2005,
crazy.
he felt like he needed to push the limits of the sport once again.
What the
And at
hell,
this point,
dude?
every discipline of motocross was at its peak in popularity. X Games as a whole was in its peak in terms of TV ratings, cultural relevance, and star power. Matt Hoffman's no-handed 900 brought...
Wait, hold up. No, I was thinking, like, did they have the breakdancing at those games? Or no, it was the Olympics, right? The Olympics. If I'm not mistaken, I was like, wait, is that where they had that there? I don't think so. Never mind. I thought it was.
BMX into the conversation, and him, Dave Mira, Scotty Kramer, and Ryan Nyquist stamped BMX as a staple of the action sports culture. Ryan Sheckler became the youngest gold medalist in X Games history, as he rivaled with legends like Paul Rodriguez and Chris Cole. On the vert side, you had Bucky Lasik and Bob Burnquist carrying the torch from Tony Hawk's legacy. Danny Way became the poster child for Big Air, and the introduction of the mega ramp proved skateboarders could reach unimaginable heights. Even on the winter side, you had Shaun White breaking records and inspiring a whole new generation of snowboarders. Corporate brands like Mountain Dew, Red Bull, DC Shoes, and Monster Energy poured millions into X Games athletes and events. Athletes were landing video game deals, commercials, and TV shows. If there was ever a time to do something big in action sports, this was the time. Travis knew this was his moment, and he decided it was time to attempt the first ever double backflip on a dirt bike. Rumors had been circulating for years that Travis wanted to try this trick, but it was obviously very dangerous. Additionally, Travis just got into rallying and was already the #1 contender for the 2006 X Games rally against Colin McRae. Moto X's best trick was scheduled first, and Travis's rally team begged him not to send the trick because it was extremely likely that he would get hurt and not be able to race. But this is Travis Pastrana, and nothing will motivate him more than someone telling him not to do a trick. And on the evening of August 4th, 2006, Travis Pastrana threw an absolutely perfect double backflip and stuck the landing flawlessly. What? The crowd erupted in excitement as they just witnessed history. This extremely dangerous stunt looked effortless, like he had done it thousands of times. It's so perfect, it almost doesn't even look real. He secured gold with a 98.60, which is the highest score in best trick competition to date, and it could be considered the most iconic moment in X Games history at the peak of its popularity.
That's crazy.
And in true Travis Pastrana fashion, this glory wasn't enough. He went on to win gold in Moto X Freestyle and rally car racing in the next couple of days. And keep in mind, during his exploration for bigger stunts and higher stakes, he won multiple AMA 125cc titles and was
I'm doing great, man. Just working on some artwork right now for
He was such a showman that he would occasionally send a backflip during a race. So while he was inventing new tricks and attempting jumps no one else would even consider, he was also winning professional races. This early stretch of his career made it clear that Travis Pastrana wasn't another talented rider, he was a generational talent that would certainly change everything for action sports. But this kind of greatness usually comes with a dark side, because no one can really be that gifted, always smiling, always positive, and trying to uplift others around them, right? Well, there is a slight dark side to Travis, but it's not what you would expect. Travis Pastrana has dealt with night terrors for most of his life. Not just bad dreams, but terrifying, vivid episodes where he would scream, flail, or even try to escape his own bedroom. His friends and family have witnessed him wake up in a full-blown panic, convinced he was dying or under attack. He's described watching babies burn in a fire. He's even ran a half-mile into the desert in his underwear, feet bleeding while being completely unconscious of what he was doing.
I tried to fix it a little bit when You know, because when I have broken bones or something and I still get up and I wake up and I'm jumping and I realize I have a broken ankle and I'm in the air or tumbling down a set of steps, or I've knocked my front tooth out. The only time I've knocked a tooth out was actually having a night terror.
Night terrors,
dogs,
huh?
Right? Yeah, I was.
I'm watching him from my headset, size MetaQuest. Are you really, dude? Are you really flexing on me, you son of a bitch? Okay, just kidding. That's funny.
Diving away from dogs, and I was in the air going, I don't have any dogs, and just tumbling down the set of steps. So yeah, I mean, yeah, that kind of sucks.
And your mom said she's literally almost had to jump on top of you when you're in a hospital bed to avoid you having to jump up. What happens?
Some I remember, some I don't. Most of the times that I remember now, if I can actually feel like I'm awake, then I can just sit there and be like, okay, I'm schizophrenic or something, and just go right back to sleep. But most of the time that I'm running around now, I have no idea. So
really,
I wake up and I'm just in midair or running full sprint through the desert or down the road or out of my hotel room.
That's crazy.
I can get out of locked
Having night terrors?
I mean, I'm fully functional. But
Doctors believe it's tied to a
I think who had night terrors too? XCC.
perfect storm of factors: repeated head trauma, years of physical abuse to his body, chronic sleep disruption, and a psychological toll of living life inches
sleep?
from death.
Yeah,
On
it'll
top of
mess you
that,
up.
his brain has been trained to respond to constant adrenaline spikes. He's lived in fight or flight mode for over 2 decades. When you live your waking life flying through the air at 70 miles per hour about to crash, it's not surprising that your body might stay on high.
You could strap his legs down before going to sleep. I mean, yeah, I mean, they may have to go that freaking hard, but I don't know why they never did that. I mean, that's like an extreme thing, but honestly, that's maybe the only way that he could like not get as hurt as usual. Well, what are you playing any games on the MetaQuest 3, by the way? Just but yeah, they could have shut him down. That's something, yeah.
High alert even when you're asleep. And yet, Travis doesn't let this slow him down at all. He just shrugs his shoulders and says it is what it is.
But anyway, so
Oh my
I've
God.
just gone to the theory that
Crazy.
I have some screws loose, and they've been loose since before I had my first concussion, and I'm all right with that.
From the constant threat of death to the night terrors, it's clear that the only reason Travis was still doing this was because he was on a mission to transform action sports from a fringe sport to a serious mainstream career and make sure it was there to stay. But he couldn't do it alone because he was surrounded by some of the most raddest people in the industry, and he wanted to give them a platform. And with that came the birth of Nitro Circus. What started as a series
Nitro
of homemade
Circus?
DVDs quickly evolved into the MTV Classic series. Travis and his friends filmed stunts,
I heard about that.
crashes, and behind-the-scenes good times.
It was like Jackass,
most
but
reality
with
TV
sports.
at the time, Nitro Circus was as real as it gets. It was basically Jackass on adrenaline. Some of the
Ah,
most creative
yeah.
stunts imaginable done by world-class athletes. Travis landed a backflip on a kid's tricycle over a mega ramp. Eric
Oh
Roner
my
skied
God.
down a moving escalator. Travis
Oh
and Joe
my
Lee Van Vaught tandem jumped a motorcycle into the Grand Canyon and pulled a parachute to land safely at the bottom.
What?
Travis also backflipped from the top of one building to another. If he landed 6
Oh.
feet shorter, he would have been RIP. Cam McQueen successfully executed the first monster truck backflip in competition with the Nitro Circus themed truck. The show
Ain't
only
no
ran for
way.
2 seasons on MTV, but it didn't stop there because Nitro Circus wasn't just a media empire, it was Travis Pastrana's actual lifestyle. And now that most of his life was dedicated to pushing stunts to the highest degree, there was one trick he had his sights set on.
Okay,
Another
what was the
legacy-defining trick. The type
What was
of
the
trick
trick?
that could maybe even allow him to retire, the triple backflip. But sadly, this
backflip?
trick would not go the way Travis planned it. The quest for the triple
Okay.
backflip began immediately after he landed the double, but this was a whole different ballgame. At 6'2" and naturally lanky, trying to spin a 250-pound bike around 3 full times in the air seriously tested what his body could realistically do. Everything
Right.
about it made his friends and family nervous.
The consequences with any sport is high. And when you're doing a single flip, 20 feet off the ground, that is high. There have been people that have died doing flips. We've lost some good friends along the way. It's the risk that comes with it. With double flips, there's only 4 of us that have ever done it, but
That's crazy.
2 of them have barely woken up from a coma.
Travis wasn't even attempting the trick for a medal or competition. He was chasing it because no one else had done it. And to him, that was enough reason to risk it all.
The triple elevates.
It's kinda like Tony Hawk's
multiple of
360,
4 or 5.
right?
It's not going to the next level. It's meaning that you have to do a double backflip on the way up. and another flip as you're falling away. So exponentially, it increases in difficulty, in height, in risk.
Oh yeah, to make
else.
it
The
3,
craziest
yeah.
part about the triple was that he couldn't really practice it without risk of injury. So his practice sessions were him sending a triple backflip into a canyon with a parachute. And it was at this point that even he was unsure if he could pull it off.
What?
Even with all his experience, Travis immediately realized how much harder the triple was than the double. It wasn't just about spinning faster. The entire setup ramp, height, takeoff angle, body position had to be perfect. And even then, there was no guarantee you'd make it back on 2 wheels. But his longtime sponsor Red Bull believed in him. They rented an entire blimp hangar and built a massive custom ramp specifically designed for this legendary moment, but Travis could not do it. On his absolute best attempt, he completed 2 rotations and landed on his back tire, but couldn't fully flip another time. But as we know by now, Travis does not accept failure, so he got back to work. This was one of the few times that the Nitro Circus team pulled in experts to calculate exactly how big the ramp needed to be and how fast the rider needed to be traveling. They ultimately designed and built the jump in Travis's backyard, which is also known as Pastrana land. Travis invited 2 of his FMX buddies to try this thing out, Josh Sheehan and Tom Pages. However, nobody wanted to test it out because, as you can see, it looked horrifying. The ramp was 37 feet tall, and the landing was a massive airbag that could easily be missed on the left or right, sending the rider into the trees or plummeting to the hard ground.
Oh yeah, hell no,
Make no mistake, that airbag is not a soft landing. Travis suffered 6 concussions.
6 concussions landing on an airbag, bro? Are you serious? I don't get it, man. You know who he reminds me of? Those cave divers. You guys ever heard of that? The cave divers who like walk in those like very tiny spaces and stuff, and they get like stuck and all that, and they make a vlog of it out of it. Or like there's some people that actually died because they tried to like explore a very, very tiny caves. I don't get it. I don't want to get it. I never want to be a part of it. Hell no, hell no, hell no. Hell no, hell no. Like, oh my god, bro. That's what they remind me of. Yeah, I know the VR. Like, I guess it's a VR game, but like is the Gorilla Tech like actually like tagging or?
Just from landing on the bag. After multiple days of practice, Josh was able to successfully get 3 rotations, but on one occasion he landed all the way on the side of the airbag, quite literally being inches from a disastrous outcome. And despite Travis giving this his all, he physically could not get 3 rotations. He always had to jump off after 2. And at this point, Travis had already racked up countless injuries throughout his career and was basically made of 30% metal. Travis also knew his life wasn't the only one in jeopardy if he made a deadly mistake. He had a wife and 2 daughters to take care of, and he couldn't bear to think about how his children would grow up without a father just because he felt the need to keep pushing things further. He didn't think the trick was impossible, but he knew he was not going to be the one to accomplish it. And for most people with as much passion and determination as Travis Pastrana, they would be defeated and heartbroken, and it would eat away at them until they make a careless and reckless mistake and try the trick anyway.
He still went for it.
Desires, but not Travis. Instead of letting his ego take control, he decided to do the most selfless act and put all of his resources into helping Josh Sheehan pull off the trick. Travis passing the torch over to Josh was the first time he accepted defeat, the first time he truly said, I can't. But this is not where the story ends.
Really?
Travis had worked with Sheehan for years and knew exactly what he was capable of. He was younger, stronger, and had a lower center of gravity. And more importantly, Sheehan had the one thing that Travis no longer had, a healthy body. Travis was there during the entire process, offering feedback from his own attempts and guiding Sheehan through the whole thing. He truly wanted Sheehan to do the thing that he struggled to achieve.
Wow. In my career, I've always been more nervous.
Well, I am living for a what? Wait, what? I don't know the last words.
I guess when someone else is trying something, because it's outside of your control. And when you're in the moment, I feel like you can harness that. But I'm not as nervous for Josh as I would be for most people, because Josh is not just some wingnut, action sports guy that comes in on a wing and a prayer. Josh is someone that works hard. And when he commits to doing something, he knows that he has put the time, he's put the effort, he's put the research, into making it happen.
And mind you, this was not a few months or even a year-long process. This was multiple years in the making. And during that time, the interest in action sports, at least from a corporate level, was slightly declining. X Games viewership year over year was dropping, and it definitely felt like it was past its prime. However, Travis and his crew launched the Nitro Circus live touring show, which combined FMX tricks, BMX, skateboarding, scootering, base jumping, wheelchair
I bet
flipping,
people watch that. Wheelchair? Oh my god.
You can think of. Travis was platforming them in stadiums around the world.
That's funny.
Even during the mainstream decline of these sports, Travis refused to give up.
Imagine seeing someone doing a wheelchair 360, bro.
Riders gave everything they could to the crowd. Unfortunately, the triple backflip was too dangerous and needed too many specific resources to accomplish at the time. So in 2015, over 3 years after Travis's initial attempt, they went back to Pastrana Land to get Josh to do the trick. They set up an extremely steep airbag landing so Josh could practice getting 3 rotations and actually landing back on 2 wheels. And after multiple attempts, he was landing them consistently. But we all know it doesn't 100% count unless he lands it on a real dirt ramp. Josh's close friends and family took a 30-hour flight from Australia to the USA to watch history. They removed the safety bag, covered the scaffolding landing with wood and dirt, and on April 28th, 2015, it was time to put it all out there and prove such a terrifying trick was actually possible. His friends and members of the crew stood in support of what he was trying to accomplish, but they were struggling with the reality that they might witness another tragedy. He cannot make a mistake. He cannot jump off the bike. He had to land it first
Bro, that's
try.
way too
While
much
Josh
pressure,
was rightfully
man.
nervous, he was locked in. This was years in the making, so he had the muscle memory down. He spent hours warming up and visualizing a safe landing and prepared to attempt what Travis could not physically accomplish. If he pulled this off, he would be able to share a legacy with one of the greatest motocross riders of all time, and even the likes of Evel Knievel.
Oh!
Backflip nearly perfect, riding away and fully embracing Travis Pastrana.
Wow!
Even though Travis never got to land the triple himself, it felt like the right conclusion to the years he spent pushing FMX to the absolute limits. It proved that the next generation could pick up where he left off and carry the sport forward in a way that he had always hoped for. And this was by far not the end of Travis Pastrana pushing the limits. Shortly after this, he started projecting the double backflip 360, but it was all too clear that he was past his physical prime. His body was just too beat up and broken to achieve these death-defying stunts he once handled with ease. Granted, all the other sports Travis transitioned to still involved insanely high speeds and dangerous ramifications, but most of them came with way better safety precautions. Rally racing became one of his new main outlets for adrenaline. Travis had been dabbling in rally since the early 2000s, but once he stepped away from motocross full-time, rally quickly became his main sport. He went on to win multiple championships in Rally America, and behind any wheel, Travis brought that same style and talent for racing that made him great on a bike. Then again, Travis was constantly suffering the loss of friends. Ken Block, Ron Meredith, J.O. Archer are just 3 of many of Travis's friends who died participating in extreme sports. Additionally, Travis's daughters were older now, and they understood he was constantly risking his life, even inside of a car.
When my daughter, my oldest Addie, was crying and she said, "Dad, just don't go. Could you just not leave?" And I went, and that was 100 Acre Wood. We came up over a crest, and I was getting my butt absolutely kicked by Brandon Semenuk, and I was trying to put in a good stage and do the best that I could, and we missed a tree at 130 by, I mean, no room. I got done the stage, and I thought, it's not worth it.
These days, Travis is still fully enthralled in the world of action sports, but his personal participation has slowed down a bit. He's only 40 years old, but his body has taken some serious damage.
He's only 40? Bro, I thought he was like around getting to a point where he's 50.
And he spends his days raising his daughters and trying to not constantly wake up in pain.
Well, I mean, he's officially like retired at this point, especially when it comes to sports and athletes and all that. That's not like the really crazy age to retire. Most athletes retires around that age, or even earlier than that, right? Like 30, 35, something like that. Hold up. Here we go. There you go. But yeah, dude. But yeah, I mean, he's retired, so you can just do like take sponsors and stuff to show up like on like events and stuff. I guess now, right?
His legacy is stamped as the most
Yeah,
badass dude to ever ride a dirt bike and maybe even drive a car. But his legacy from here on out is not defined by what trick he will land, but about the lives he can change by giving back to newcomers in the sport that he helped build from the
Made it
ground
more
up.
protection.
So no, he didn't land the triple
More
backflip, but he
cities?
didn't need to, because Travis Pastrana already did the impossible 10 times over, and he lived to tell the story.
That was a smart choice, by the way, of him deciding to not do it. Like, that was a very smart choice of him. Like, you know what? I cannot do it, so you do it.
React.
You know what I mean? Good video. I like it. I like it a little bit different, you know? Compared to other videos and all that. I mean, like the one we watched before, which is
to
the Emerald
constantly
one.
seek the feeling of being at the edge of death is not bravery, it's insanity.
Whoa, bro, I hate Google Chrome, man. Let me look at the comments, you son of a... Like, I'm trying to pause the video so I can look at the comments, but it's not letting me, bro. Anyways, how's everybody doing today or this morning? If you guys doing awesome, welcome everybody to the stream. My name is Jonnyboig. I usually don't stream on Thursdays, but I decided to stream on Thursdays because tomorrow I may not be able to stream because
when you're sitting up there and you're nervous.
I have to work extra hours for this weekend because I have to pay my bills this weekend and I need some extra cash for the show on for Anime Expo. So that's why I may not be able to stream tomorrow. But I may do a stream where like around like 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock before I go to work. So there's that. So yeah, like, but I'm talking about like more like nighttime. I may not be able to do it. So Travis is a close to 11 legend in the industry as anyone else could be. It's cool to see him on your channel. Travis is the man. He's such a down-earth human, also a great role model. Not for his stunts, but for how he is as a person. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people do have a lot of props for him. Breaking his body for the sport was merely inconvenience for this guy, pretty much. Bro, if he had like the powers like Wolverine, yeah, he would accomplish so much.